Welcome to Lesson 8 in Unit 23, Celestial Clocks and Calendars. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, how can we communicate about the patterns we have observed? In this lesson, students review the observed patterns and relationships they have learned so far, as well as how civilizations have interacted with these patterns. Students make connections to the storyline by compiling the information they gained during the unit to create a narrative about a fictional civilization, applying their learning as part of the story. This lesson concludes the unit. There are several opportunities for ELA and social studies cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 23 Teacher Guide. This lesson will take approximately 6 days to complete. For the Engage portion, you'll have students retrieve their Culture Notecatcher student journal pages. Now would also be a useful time to have any class summary charts created accessible for students. You'll have students discuss provided questions with their groups. You'll ask students how they can take all of the things they have figured out about their questions about space and time and share them with others. For the Explore portion, you'll put students into groups and provide them with the Cultural Narrative Graphic Organizer student journal page. You'll review the narrative prompts and parts of the organizer together. You'll also have students review the Narrative Rubric student journal page. Provide each student with a particular present-day city where their past or future civilization lives. Some examples of cities are provided. You'll provide students with access to devices and have them gather data to support the development of their narrative. You'll assign students within each group to be responsible for collecting specific data. Before students begin writing their narrative, you'll read the narrative provided in the Cultural Narrative Graphic Organizer student journal page to provide them with an example. You'll have students share their data within their group and begin constructing their narrative. They will use the data to develop the character's setting and structure. For the Explain portion, you'll have students work in small groups and use the Narrative Rubric student journal page and peer feedback table tent cards to provide feedback to each other on their narrative ideas. Students should use the feedback to create a written draft of their narrative. For the Elaborate portion, you'll have students use their Cultural Narrative Graphic Organizer student journal pages to type up and illustrate their final narrative on mystorybook.com. They can also create a hard copy of their draft if you prefer. Prior to the Evaluate section, you can invite first grade students who have completed or will complete MySci Unit 7. Provide a space for students to share their narrative stories with their first grade classes. If students created a digital narrative, you'll use your teacher account on MyStorybook to assess student narrative stories, along with their Cultural Narrative Graphic Organizer student journal page using the rubric. To support student sense-making across the unit, orient students back to the driving question board. Ask, did we answer any of the questions on our driving question board? Are there any questions we haven't answered? Try to wrap up any final questions on the driving question board before the end of the unit. Have students complete the Section 3 summative assessment. By the end of this lesson, students will have written a narrative using real scientific information and imagined experiences or events using effective techniques, descriptive details, and clear event sequences. For more information about this unit, visit myscipartners.com.